Hello and welcome to Killer Ant Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing the book that I most recently finished, The Space Olympics by A.M. Lightner. When looking up the author, the one interesting fact I did find is A.M. Lightner is actually a woman author. She actually used the A.M. initials because back then, as a woman, she couldn't get anything published, due to sexism. So she basically decided to use her initials, and this got published. She actually published quite a few books too. This one I just happened to get in one of the three bundles of vintage sci-fi books, and this one was actually a quick read, and I was pleasantly surprised, even though it was made for teenagers, so it's not a very long book. It's only about 177 pages, well, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, it's not that long. Because normally books are 300, 250 to God knows what. Overall, this book was actually fairly surprisingly decent. I thought it definitely had some good ideas. I actually love the fact that it's called the Space Olympics, so it's people from other planets who compete. And instead of the stereotypical all track and field or swimming, the guy is a discus thrower, so it was way out there on the event. The entire plot is basically a guy named Ty who basically works on a farm. He's good with the discus because he uses it to play fetch with his dog. And he's recruited to go to a planet where the Space Olympics are. And on the way, he meets a few people, some of them in various events. A good chunk of the book is actually based on a water planet where he meets a couple of swimmers and they have a little bit of adventure. Overall, I found the entire book pretty entertaining. The characters were well written. Ty is definitely a likable character. Some of the characters were actually pretty dumb too. They are way too trusting and they ignore orders. But they also added to some fun. The worlds were pretty well descriptive. If I have to think about anything negative, it's basically they had a good subplot that they could have explored, but they ended up not exploring it at all. During the Olympics, they mentioned that there's gamblers that can control who wins the Olympics. You have a little bit more control over it, and they could basically do things to prevent certain people from winning. They kind of mentioned it, but they never go any further into it. Instead, I'm just going to spoil a little bit. There is a not really a natural disaster. It was kind of a disaster scene that I felt was kind of forced, and I felt like it just derailed the whole book, which is unfortunate because the book was pretty good up until then. Overall, the cover is a bit weird. I'm a bit mixed on it. While I definitely love the vintage spaceships around it, everything around it, it feels like it's kind of empty. They did do a good job with the character in front, even though his hair looks a little weird. What would I give this book overall? Overall, I would definitely give this a good 6.5 out of 10. Like I said, it definitely would have been a bit better if they didn't throw in a disaster. And there was a couple other side plots I thought the author could have explored a bit more, but chose not to, which was kind of disappointing. I would rather have dealt with the gambler side plot, the gambler plot, instead of the natural disaster. But overall, would I recommend it? Yeah, if you're looking for a pretty short book, if you happen to come across it, it's a decent read. So hopefully in the next few weeks I can get more of the Wizard of Oz reading from Smurgle and more book reviews, because I have a ton of books that I've read, especially during the 2-month lockdown, that I want to review. So if you like this channel, definitely subscribe, leave a like, comment, and I'll see you next time.